What's up everyone, welcome back. If you missed the news update this past Friday, July 12th, then Content Patch 2, the patch that was planned to release in July, has been pushed back and is now planned to release in September. I am sorry if that is terrible news for you. It doesn't really mean anything to me personally. Quite a few of us kind of already expected that it wasn't going to release in July because of the delays with the previous content patch. But now, more and more people have been asking about it lately, so here is the deal with modding in Wolcen. There are multiple ways to modify the game, but I'm only going to talk about two for now. The first and most difficult way to do this requires you to edit the actual game files and requires a couple of extra tools to properly extract, edit, and repack encrypted CryEngine files. There seems to be a little bit of a debate over whether or not the files are actually encrypted. Some say they are, but some people say no. I thought the devs already came out and said that they in fact are, but either way it doesn't matter because when you modify the game this way, it affects the entire game, meaning if you mess up bad enough, you are now having to reinstall the entire game. If Wolcen comes out with a big enough change to the game, you are now having to remake your mod, possibly the entire thing. There is a much easier way to modify the game without having to risk reinstalling the entire game, and that is to just edit the character file. Now, both ways have their pros and cons. Editing the character file is much more limited in what you can actually modify, and it can be a pain to find items with the affixes that you need when you first start out, but that is why I'm going to just give you all a character that is already modified and already contains some of the good stuff. Just the basics to get you all started. But for those of you who do not wish to modify anything and just want to play a Redonkulous character, you can just do that as well. However, keep in mind that if you reset your attribute points, there is a slight possibility that you won't get 40,000 points back. It did not happen to me with the attribute points yet, but it did happen with the skill tree points, so always remember to keep a backup character file just in case you need to get those points back, or just stick around through the second half of this video and I will show you all how to edit the character file for yourself. When you get this character, it is going to come set up like this. Some of this gear was just thrown on so I wouldn't be naked and you can do whatever you want with it, throw it on the ground. All of the epic legendaries, however, are a very different story. I did not set them up in a way that would make this character deal 50 billion damage. That's just unnecessary overkill. This character has enough health and damage to get you through all of the not broken areas of the champion dungeon, which is like 1 through 3. You will have 16 total projectiles, 150% movement speed, and 2.5 million magic find. I experimented a lot with magic find, anywhere from possible legitimate numbers all the way up to literally breaking the UI. Meh, not much of any difference, and 2.5 million is just where I ended up. You will also already have access to all of the spells in-game, or at least I think that's all. I can't remember because we haven't been playing mages. They will already have modifiers put in, just whatever I was playing around with last, so just remember to come check these out and redo them your way if you wish. However, if it turns out that I missed something or you just want to try something different, you will have over 5 million gold and 5 million affinity, just in case. Now, when you first log into this character, you will probably notice that you only have like 45,000 health. That is because the skill tree is currently blank. This is what it used to look like, but when I reset the passives so that you could all set it up your own way, it only left me with 38 points. I don't want this to happen when you all try to reset it, so I am just going to leave it blank, but with 252 available skill points. That should be enough to hit every single node on the tree. However, there will probably be a few nodes that you don't particularly care for, so just take every single node that you do want. Downside to this means that every time you reset your skill tree, you might lose those points. So just keep a backup character file to start over from, or just edit the character file to get your points back. Apologies for that, kind of a pain if you're wanting to reset the skill tree a lot to experiment, but like I said, I just didn't want to leave my build in there. I want you all to be able to do it your way, whatever you want. Everyone thinks differently and has different playstyles. I personally love the damage buffs from Winter's Grasp, Fireball, and Bulwark of Dawn. But that does not mean that everyone else does as well, so I wanted that option of customization. I was running around with Arctic Spear, but maybe you don't want Arctic Spear. Maybe you want Tear of Ethel Isle, or Thunder Strike. I personally like turning it into a Shadow Strike, giving it that black and blue color. But alright, you're probably wondering where the f do I get that? Well, first, you will need to know where your Wolcen characters are saved on your computer. So bring up your File Explorer and navigate to whichever hard drive you have Steam installed on. Don't ask why mine is on my main SSD. Go over to Program Files, x86, down to Steam, down to Steam Apps, common, Wolcen, user, save games, and characters. In here you will find the character files for all of your offline characters. Yes, this only works in offline mode, and it should match up to the names of your characters in game. Alright, now that you know where to put it, let's go get it. You are going to need to get into Wolcen's Discord. A link for that is in the description of this video. When you get in there, go over to the far left where all the different channels are and go down to modding. Depending on how long this video has been out, you may need to scroll up quite a bit, but you will eventually find a YouTube post from rhyme.stony. My name will be in green. That will contain this video that you are watching right now. It won't look as badass as Okami's wings right there, but you know. And right underneath my video, I will post a file. Again, green texted, rhyme.stony will be my name. And the file should look something like this here, except my name in green. And down here in blue text, it will say Redonkulous.json, Redonkulous.json. And you can download it by pressing this little button right here. You're welcome. If you don't already know, then you will have to get into settings on Discord to find where it downloaded to. For this video, I'm just going to leave it on my desktop. We can see it here, Redonkulous.json. So now you just need to put this file into your character folder and you're ready to go. To do this, get your character folder back up, right click and hold on the Redonkulous.json, drag the file over to the character folder and release the mouse, but do not move here, just in case you lose skill tree points or something and need to start over, so go down to copy here. This way, you will always have a backup of the original file in a different location that you can just copy back into the character folder in the event that something goes wrong. And that's it. Now you just need to run Wolcen Lords of Mayhem and you should now have this handsome devil available, along with all of your other offline characters. Reminder, modding the game is only acceptable in offline mode. So now that we got the news about Content Patch 2, well, that is what I have been waiting on. An updated time frame in which we could expect the next content patch. I wasn't going to release yet what I have been working on lately if Content Patch 2 was actually right around the corner and was going to introduce new unique items. Which it will, just not for another couple of months. So then I am just going to go ahead and do my thing, and then if I need to update everything again in September, I will. This is not the only character file that I plan to release to you all. I have 2 more projects that have also been in the works, and I will get those released as soon as possible. The next one will be a dual pistol ranged character that you can all download and play if you wish. And the third, well, it's going to be a more legitimate type of thing, but it's a surprise. You will just have to wait and see. Sorry. Really quick though, a special shout out to Jure. Welcome to the channel, and I'm sorry if that's not how you say your name, and thanks for reminding me about the AoE bomb Fireball Mage. I didn't even think about that build because mages are in such bad shape right now, but thanks to you, I also have a legit online Fireball Mage video in the works as well, and we'll get that out after I finish these modding projects, so thanks again. As you can see though, you shouldn't have too many problems with this character, and with all the spells already equipped and leveled up, customization is entirely in your hands, and I wouldn't worry too much about dying either. I mean, if you give them enough time, they might chunk away at your force shield, but seriously, no worries. As long as you stay in champion 1 through 3, because as soon as I got up into 4, the game continues to glitch out as we encounter a level 61 Tainted Primordial Guardian with 56 million health in one run, and in another, this happens. Keep in mind, I have over 150,000 health and I believe maxed resistances. I went back and looked in slow motion. I got taken down by the very first ones that hit me. There were 2 of them right next to each other that hit me at the same time, but seriously? 2 little soul spawns took me down like that. Not buying it. Something is broken. It continued to get harder and harder, but at least I got to see how the build was supposed to work. Sacred damage on Arctic Spear is applying weakness, and Fireball is applying burn. Maybe one day could be a good online weakness Fireball build, but whatever, it doesn't matter right now. And just a minute or 2 later, we were done for good. So just watch out for these higher level champion dungeons. They are still broken. And if you didn't notice in those clips, there was still no loot. But alright, if you have no interest in modifying the files yourself, then that is just about all you need. It's very plug and play, man. If you do end up playing this character for yourself, then hey, be sure to come back and let us all know what you thought about it. Was it the greatest thing ever, or did it completely ruin your life? Oh man, all joking aside though, plus 15 projectiles and especially 150% movement speed could very possibly ruin online mode for you. It's hard to go back to being so slow after being so fast, but still, I really hope you all just enjoy it and have fun with it. Stick around for more to come, and hopefully I will catch you all again next time. Alright, so in order to do this, you will need to bring back up your character folder, where all of your character files are saved. Go to the one you are wanting to edit and right-click. Go down to Edit With. I personally use Notepad++ because it is very simple, has better features, and works every time. And you will then be looking at this. It can be a little overwhelming if you are especially new to this kind of thing, but just take a deep breath and then just start reading. We got our name, Redonkulous. It is an offline character, blah, blah, blah. All of this first stuff is blah, blah, blah. And don't even worry about the customization options because they don't work yet. We are going to start down here at Stats. You can see here we have Strength, Agility, Constitution, and Power. These are your attribute points. In-game, they are Ferocity, Agility, Toughness, and Wisdom, but a lot of this stuff is labeled differently behind the scenes. So if you want more or less into your attributes, you just simply highlight the value that is currently in and replace it with whatever you want. Remember to be careful to only change the value. If you accidentally delete the space here or the comma here, it will break the character, and when you get into game the next time you run it, that character might not even be on your list. He has disappeared. Once you have the value set the way you want it, you just come up here to File, go down to Save, click, and then just go run the game. And if all worked correctly, then congratulations! You have just officially, quote, modded a game on your own. Alright, so if you start a brand new character and want to jump right up to level 20, change this here to 20. Passive skill points. This is what you will need to come in here and edit if you reset the skill tree and you don't get all of your 252 skill points back. If you only get like 38 back like I did, or even worse, 0, then open up this file. Come down to passive skill points and replace whatever number is currently there with however many points you would like. I don't care about XP. Remaining stat points. You can put a value in here if you wish to have a certain amount of attribute points to physically click into the character screen yourself in game. If you need or just want more or less gold or primordial affinity, you can change those right here. Getting into the skills, there really isn't much you can do to them from here other than just set their level up to 20. But down here where it says variants, this is where it tells the game which active skill modifiers are currently active on this character. Unfortunately, setting them all to true, trying to tell the game that every single active skill modifier is currently activated, it doesn't work. Coming down through all of this stuff, it's all just a bunch of whatever info like number of items dropped, number of enemies killed, how many quests you have gotten through, etc. Until finally we reach versions, waypoints, and then inventory equipped. This is where all of our equipped items will be, and as we can see here, the first one we run into is the chest armor. Now you can change the rarity and the quality here if you would like. Changing the rarity will change it from being like normal, magic, rare, legendary, or unique. Changing the quality will change it from like exceptional to epic. 4-5 is legendary epic. I don't care about the level here, but down here we have armor, resistance, and health. These are the values for the default health, resistance, or force shield that comes on a particular piece of armor. Where it says armor, that represents force shield. You can see here that this is a mage chest armor, so it is going to have health and force shield in game. However, if you want it to have all three, you can put in a value for resistance. And now we are getting to sockets, but I'm going to skip them for just a second. I will come back to them, but for now, I just recommend that when you edit any piece of gear that has sockets, to edit them in Notepad before inserting the gems. Otherwise, you end up with all this junk that just gets in the way and is confusing at first. But like I said, we will come back to them in just a second. And we finally come to the magic effects and rolled affixes. This is where you will find all of the blue mods on that piece of gear and can crank up or down the values. As we see here, the first affix on the chest piece is a % to elemental resistance score. And at the bottom, value. This means that this mod is currently giving 200% to your elemental resistance score, but you can adjust that to whatever you would like just by changing the number next to value. So you just go through here, check everything out, the helmet, to change up the values however you would like. Shoulder, arm, another arm, pants, and the amulet is what I was looking for. So if we come look, we will see that we have an amulet here. This is the purple unique amulet named Thirst, the one that gives a % to spell damage, but you can see that I changed it here to 4 or 5, so it is now legendary epic. I wanted to point this one out because if we scroll down to the bottom, you might notice that there is an affix on here that does not belong on this item. Effect ID additional projectile. So if you would like more or less projectiles, go down to value and put in a new number. But I bring it up because just going through here and replacing numbers is one thing. Moving an affix over from one piece of gear to another piece of gear is a whole different thing, which we will get into in just 1 second. But if you are wanting to adjust that 2.5 million magic find, then just keep on scrolling until you find the unique belt lucky max. Gotta love some of these names. Go down to the bottom of the magic affixes and you will find effect ID magic find. And at the bottom, value, change this number to experiment with magic find for yourself. Go as high as you want, but eventually you will start getting letters and stuff in the UI on the character screen in game. So a lot of the reason why I wanted to give you all this file to start with is because when you modify your character this way, you kind of need to know the language that is being used if you wish to add anything. For example, if you wanted more spell damage, you can't just randomly type in there somewhere on a staff or something, increased spell damage. It doesn't work that way. And since the game is still too early in development, there really isn't a lot of resources out there for this kind of thing. Some people have been trying to help out in Discord, but I mean, until the game is actually released, we are pretty much on our own. So this means that if you are starting out from scratch on your own like I did, and you don't already know the language being used like I don't, then the only way to get an affix like additional projectiles onto your build is to literally find an item in game with that affix, and then get into Notepad and copy it over onto a different item. How do you do that? Well, let's start with all of these random looking symbols all over the place. Kind of look like something glitched out when Notepad tried to open the file or something, but it did not. These are very important and are part of that, quote, language or whatever I am talking about. So let's take a look. I apologize in advance. I know that I'm not going to be able to explain this in a way that every single person will understand, and I am sorry for that. But the only thing I can think to say to a new person starting out is to try and look for the patterns. For example, if we look through all of the affixes on this piece of gear, you may start to notice that they all start with these brackets, and they all end with these ones. Everything else in between the important stuff is all the same. Effect ID, effect name, level, max stack, bead default, perimeters, semantic, and value. The other thing to notice is that if you are adding this affix to the bottom of this list of affixes like I did here, then you need to be aware of these brackets here. These need to always be right here. No matter how many affixes you add, if these are still right here, you are good. You're good, man, you're good. So let's say we want to start a brand new character, like we have here. He is only level 1, has no attribute points, has no passive skill points, no gold, no affinity, is currently only able to throw 1 projectile, and is the slowest man in the world. And then, let's say, just as an example, we wanted to use this staff, but he needs to be level 13 to use it, and we want to tweak the occult damage and add additional projectiles. And let's also say that we really wanted to use these particular boots. They just don't have any movement speed, and we need to be level 20 to use them. So we are going to exit Wolcen and go into whichever file we were wanting to edit, whatever that character's name was. And okay, so first we need some attributes. And need to be level 20. Gonna need some skill points if I want to make a build. I'm not sure if I will want more agility or something, so some attribute points that I can put in myself in the character screen, just in case. And we need money and affinity. Alright. The skills are already level 20 on here, so just moving on, but you change it to level 20 like I showed you. Past all this junk to our first item, two-handed staff starter is going to be the white staff we currently have equipped and don't care about. Down to the next one, two-handed staff, damage min and damage max. If you want those higher, change that, and you can tweak all this stuff if you wish. Down to rolled affixes, occult damage %. And I wanted to tweak that damage, so I'm just going to adjust the value. And okay, so here's where it gets tricky. One symbol, one freaking comma out of place, and it won't work. So I want to add an affix to this piece. So we come back over to our Redonkulous character, who has that on a piece of gear. You can switch back and forth between two files in Notepad++. So we go over to Redonkulous and take a look, and here's the affix that I want to copy. So since it is going after occult damage on that piece of gear, I am going to need to bring the correct brackets over with me. So I'm going to highlight from here down to here. Press Ctrl-C to copy the text. Now also be very aware of where these brackets here start. They start on this vertical line here and will need to be put in the same exact place in the other character file. Sorry. So go back over to the brand new character you are making and find that same exact vertical line. That is where you will need to paste. However, before you do, these brackets need to stay where they are underneath the last affix on that piece of gear. And these ones need to stay right here underneath the last affix. So what you will need to do is to put the cursor right here, right after these brackets, and hit enter. Now use the left arrow key or backspace to navigate the cursor onto the correct vertical line. It should be lined up exactly with these brackets here on the bottom, but you always just want to make sure. And then press Ctrl-V to paste. If you did it correctly, it should then look like this, and you just added a new affix onto that piece of gear. Repeat with any other affixes you want on there, and alternatively, you can also go up to Edit and down to Copy and Paste from there if you prefer. Now we just need to go back over to our Redonkulous character file and find the movement speed affix that we need for our boots. Here we are, so we just highlight from brackets to brackets, Ctrl-C, go back over to our new character, find his boots, line it up correctly, and Ctrl-V to paste. Don't forget to save your changes before trying to get back into the game. Alright, so if we did this correctly, then we should now have all of our attribute points, skill points, are now level 20, and can use these, have increased occult damage with additional projectiles, and should now move like the wind. Another thing you can do instead of adding an affix is to just replace one. You don't really have to worry about the brackets when you do it this way, and just copy the text. For example, if your piece of gear has like 6 affixes and you just want to get rid of the third one down and put on Magic Find or something like that, you can just replace that affix that you don't want with the Magic Find affix. You don't worry about the brackets and just highlight the text like so. Hit copy. Go back over to your new character, highlight the affix that you don't want, and then just hit paste to just replace it. Another example of this would be replacing the implicit willpower to rage transfer time mod on a staff. Find any other affix you would like to go there, highlight the text like so, go back to the staff you want to put it on, go to where it says Magic Effects Default, that is where the implicit mod is supposed to go. highlight the text like so, and again, just paste right on top of it to replace it. Alright, so that should hopefully be enough of the basics to get you all started and experimenting on your own. As you are putting together your armor set of doom, you will probably start thinking about sockets. For example, let's say you just randomly find this piece of gear, love every stat, and just want to make it 3-socketed. So if we come into our character files here and take a look, find the chest piece and look at sockets. You will see type and effect. Now, I'm not sure what type corresponds to, but effect will decide whether the socket is a defensive socket, a support, or an offensive socket. You can change the value next to effect to 1 to make it an offensive socket, leave it on 2 for a defensive socket, and I'm guessing 3 to make it a support socket. I don't know for sure on that last one because I just haven't tried it yet, but it would be logical to assume so. Now, we already know that this piece only has 1 socket, so this is what a piece looks like with 3 empty sockets. You notice that there are now 3 groups instead of just 1 that say type and effect, so each one of those corresponds to 1 individual socket. We are going to need to copy and paste 2 of them over to our new character, which again, try to look at the patterns, and we will need all of this. 1 group, or 1 individual socket, 2 groups, 1, 2. I am sorry if that didn't make sense, this is a long one. Also, because they are set up this way, that means that you can change the effect to 1 for 1 socket, 2 for another socket, and 3 for the last socket if you really wanted. But alright, so we highlight what you see here, hit copy, go back over to our new character, put our cursor right here at the end of this line, hit enter. Did you remember to look at which vertical lines the brackets need to be lined up with? Navigate your cursor over to the correct spot and paste that mother. Always remember to save your changes before getting back into game, and if you did everything correctly, you should now have your 3-socketed armor with whichever kind of socket you wanted. But, if anything is incorrect, or set too high, or set to a value that doesn't exist, like if you try to change the customization options, it will break your character file. Now, this can mean many different things, like when I tried to change the customization options, nothing happened. It just reverted the settings in Notepad back to default on its own, which was kind of weird, but the character was still fine. When I changed the value for health regeneration above 50 to like even just 75, it broke the UI in-game and put weird letters and stuff into the value on my piece of armor, so I had no clue what my actual health regen was. If I sometimes accidentally don't line something up properly or miss 1 symbol, 1 letter when I go to copy paste, then sometimes I get into game, the character is still working fine, but one of 2 things has happened. Either the entire item that I was editing has disappeared, or the item is still there, but the affix that I was trying to edit is not there. When I really mess up, like when I tried to add an affix to one of these potions, all of a sudden you load up Wolcen, it's on a different character, so you click change character and poof! The one you are editing is completely gone. The game doesn't even register that the thing exists anymore. And some of this stuff, like the potions, aren't necessarily a screw up. I mean, I'm pretty sure I implemented it correctly. The game just didn't know what the hell to do with it. I don't know. Sometimes it just happens. That comes with experimentation, but it will also lead to learning the limitations. So obviously I'm not trying to tell you all to not try and learn something new, to not mess with it because you can break it. By all means, keep seeking that knowledge, keep pushing yourself to do and learn new things every single day because life is just too damn short. However, just try to always be aware of the fact that it really doesn't take very much to break it. So if you are brand spanking new to this kind of thing, then just take it very slow at first, and especially if you just aren't sure about something, then just edit that one thing, save it, and then immediately try to get into game to verify that everything is okay. That way, you don't ever run into the situation where you have been editing for 45 minutes straight, you have created an entire set of armor worthy of the very gods. So you save your work, go take a piss, grab a Mountain Dew, try to log into the game, but whoops, your character isn't there. So now you throw open Notepad, desperately trying to find where you might have messed up, but it's too late. You edited so much crap that you are now completely lost, going over every single detail for another hour and a half, and in the end, you still end up having to copy the original file back over into your character folder and start all over from scratch. again. So I truly do wish you all the best of luck, and I really do hope this video helps at least some of you out there. I know it may not be the most understandable beginner's guide type of thing, and I mean, like many of you out there are wanting to do right now, I learned this kind of stuff by just doing it. So this is my way, and you know, I am just me. No one else can be me because I am already me. Oh Jesus. All I'm trying to say is that just because my way works for me doesn't mean that it's always going to work for you. So modding in Wolcen is very much a community-driven thing, so if you have any little tips and tricks that you think might help some of us out, then don't hesitate to put them in the comments. Modding in Wolcen probably won't get very much more in-depth until at least the final game releases, but simple modding like this will always be around, and even when the game does finally release, it will be interesting to see what modding becomes. The developers have already released a plan to keep the game continuously updated with new content after the final release, so we will probably just have to wait and see just how much work that will mean for the real modders. So anyways, if you enjoy the content, then please don't forget to keep yourself up to date by smashing that subscribe button. Don't forget to ding that bell if you would like to be notified when new videos drop, and until next time, boys and girls, take it easy. I promise the next video won't be nearly as long, so hopefully I will catch you all again next time.